In fact, at IBM, if you disparage a competitor and said you're gonna go with them, you did something like that, you were immediately fired. Didn't make any difference how many years you had in the business. So their whole take was learn about the competition, learn about their products, and when you're in a sales environment, you simply say, well, we have 40 MB and they only have 30 for that, and the way I read your application, you're going to need at least 40,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And you seem to, not seem, you've brought this important point out that not only, and the way you told the story that, you never said they were a bad lender or anything, you just
No.
simply said, this is what they're offering, and they probably weren't even told all the details, and then you're giving them information, they make a decision, they validate themselves.
Right, and it is competition. I mean, we are, but there is a way to compete honorably, and there's a way to win. And and along the way, you need to learn how to strike those comparisons and make sure that the customer understands them. And it is tough, and it's a demanding performance that you're participating in, and somebody's going to lose.
Right.
But if you happen to have the better opportunity for the customer, you're obligated to help them understand what that opportunity is and why it's better. And if you know what their product is and how they're presenting it, in this particular case, they were charging a point where they didn't need to charge it. I could actually point that out, that even if you stay with those guys, you could be getting a loan from them with no points. I knew what the product was. I knew who the ultimate lender was. There was no reason why I shouldn't say that if I'm in competition.
It was the opposite.
It was true. It was factual, and it keeps you away from that concept of negatively talking about or disparaging the competition.
Exactly.
But using facts to present the differences between you and the other guy.
Right. When you're talking in that same vein, now not everybody out there is going to listen to this is going to work for such a good company as SunTrust. But do you find that working for a major lender has its benefits when you're out there on the street?
It does, especially in this type of market. Before a year or two ago, the consumer really didn't, or seemingly didn't necessarily care about the institution that they were dealing with or the originator that they were dealing with. And it was a tough spot for people that are professionals in the mortgage industry to lose deals to folks like you mentioned before that were in it because the ease of entry was there, the opportunity was there, but they really weren't serious about this as a career. And it's always tough to find yourself in that spot. That being said, for those of us that have been doing this for decades, quite frankly, we've been through this before.
Right.
And you work for a company like SunTrust because you know that it has the strength to deliver in a good market and in a bad market. And quite frankly, you look forward to bad markets, as painful as they may be personally, because they do give you the opportunity to prove yet again that you're different, that you're better, that you have the staying power, that you're stable, and that your company is stable. And it does give you the opportunity to develop market share. And even though it may hurt a little bit on the income side for now, it's a stepping stone.
How about, I'd like, and this is exactly where I was hoping that you would be headed today. How about expanding a little more as far as giving advice to the loan officers out there on exactly how to do it? You've articulated like 5 or 6 things just like that on the consequences of doing important things. But maybe you could talk a little more about how in today's market you implement it yourself, because you're very successful. Anybody that reads Mortgage Originator probably knows who you are, but how do you implement that as a strategy today for them that
Sure.
are out there?
The key to every market whether it's good or bad, is the amount of effort that you put in each day to reaching out to the people that need your product. So how many people did you talk to today that need a loan, and how many people did you talk to today that can refer a loan to you? And I'm a very analytical individual, so for me,
Yeah, you are.
it comes down to knowing that each day I took the action necessary to reach out to prospective buyers, and I took the action necessary to reach out to prospective referral sources. So one of the things that happens for me each day is I look at the products that we have to offer and try to figure out how I can present myself as unique in the marketplace with the products that SunTrust has to offer. I'm extremely fortunate, especially at this point in time, in that they probably have 3 or 4 products that are either unique or they're a product that I can focus on as being a little bit different. Therefore, it lends itself to being presented to referral sources, even if they don't have a customer today.
But I would also say, as a cautionary part to that, and that is there's many people out there that will be listening to this over the years, really, that might not be in such a fortunate circumstance. They might be part of a broker or a small broker, and they're dealing with what they deal, or maybe they deal just with FHA. But I still think that if you're a really good competitor out there, it's not just that differentiation, it's in the way you present it to them. I mean, I could spin tales about FHA and say, oh, look, you probably don't know this, but there's ways to do that, even when you have vanilla products where you don't have something that really stands out.
Sure.
I think it goes beyond.
Yeah, I think
And to someone like yourself that's been a professional doing that. If you have that advantage, well, all the more power to you. But not everybody has that.
no, and even taking that at its simplest concept, if you were to target certain, let's say, realtors that you want to do business with, and went in, looked at their listings, and actively presented to them what your product, as vanilla as it may be, can do to help them sell their listing. If you develop information for that listing agent that demonstrates the characteristics of a prospective buyer for your listing, whether it's a vanilla product or not, and you do that day in and day out, you're going to have impact. And
Well, it's all. Yeah, I didn't let
No.
you finish up. It is all in the applications.
Yeah.
People, okay, you have, I hate to go back to, it's the last one I'll do, but they'd have you stand up in a class and give you a pencil, and they would say, all right, well, tell us about it. And you'd have like 50 people looking at you and everything. And you would have to do, an initial benefit statement, so you'd learn how to do that. But you'd learn to talk about applications, and that's where it is. You can have all the vanilla products you want, but if you can't turn it into, and this is what it can do for your particular prospect that you're showing in that particular house right now.
Exactly. And I think that, your job as an originator is, before your day starts, every day you need to ask yourself, what am I going to do today to create impact in the marketplace? What am I going to do so that people know I exist, know what I have to offer, and who are those targets? There's thousands of realtors, and targeting the right ones is critical in today's market, because you could be targeting somebody that does one deal a year. That's not going to help you. So it's a very active daily process, and I think that the drawback to for some originators is that they don't view it as a daily activity.
Well, and I think you said something in there, not necessarily in code, but another nugget that comes out, and that is, how many loan officers out there, especially newer ones or those that are struggling, they look at, you give them 10 realtors and they look upon them as 10 prospects. The reality is, based on our collective experience, as there are really only 2 prospects in there. Right. That one deal a year or one deal a month, who gives a rat's butt if you go to a baseball game with them and they say, "Oh, I really like you, Jimmy. I'm only going to use you." They 2 deals a year, or
Yeah.
you know, it's a metaphor, but
Yeah, and that's you know, you've got enough time in this marketplace to actively market. You just want to make sure that you're picking the right folks.
and how do you actively market? How do you you know, figure out who those people are to target?
If you're in business today, then you're doing some applications, obviously, and so the first place you start is with the people that are attached to the, you know, the file that you're working on today, and you know, start off with obviously the realtors that are involved there, and then work with the customer to understand who their other contacts are, because in my marketplace today, there's not enough business coming from realtors. So I truly have to be engaged in figuring out and growing my contacts, and this is a good thing. This is partly where the market's down, which is a bad thing, but it gives me the opportunity to invest time in expanding who I interact with, so that other people besides realtors know that I'm a viable and valuable source for mortgages. So within the file that you're looking at, make sure that you're consciously interacting with the realtors, and then start to look at the other contacts. Who is the insurance agent? Do they have a financial planner or an attorney that you can introduce yourself to? How many people from one transaction can you introduce yourself to and start to have impact?
I think that's a good concept, and it's actually one that's not articulated very much with the people that I interview, surprisingly, because I, you know, do talk to top people. But if you think about it, it makes absolute sense, especially in tough times where getting prospects is a lot tougher. Getting a top realtor is a lot tougher out there. So expanding that service, going to settlements. I've talked to many loan officers who go to settlements now, and they go to settlements so they can meet the opposition and get a chance. They're showing up.
Mm-hmm.
It shows they care. They know what they're talking about. They bring gifts, and it's the whole experience. And it's just wonderful when their loan officer doesn't show up. It's even better.
Yeah, if the seller of the property is there and they have a settlement, and their loan officer doesn't show up, automatically that's made you look better in front of the seller size. And that seller is, you know, your next customer. If you went to settlement and they go on to buy their house and their loan officer's not there, or if it's an internet lender, they're not going to be there anyway, that's an opportunity for you to create a personal relationship that you can grow over time. We are not in the mortgage business. Anybody thinks we are, they don't know what they're doing. We are in the business of developing relationships that lead to mortgages. But our job is to develop relationships. So, you know, that seller is a relationship that you can develop. The listing agent is a relationship that you can develop. The title company is a relationship that you can develop. Obviously, hopefully, you know, the selling agent referred the people to you. And we are truly in the people business, growing relationships with people that lead to mortgages. And going to a settlement is, you know, a terrific way to do that.
How about another area? You alluded to the fact that it's harder work in the realtor business today. First of all, a lot of realtors getting out of business, and even those that are in there aren't doing the same volumes. So that part is a lot tougher. But of course, it begs the question of, well, okay, what do I do to expand my business anyway? And you mentioned the fact that you know, when you take that one prospect and you've identified 3 or 4 people around that you can start with. And there's also affinity groups out there, and CPAs and attorneys. And I've told the story too many times to repeat here about the top CPA in the city here of Cambridge, which we're small. No one's ever called on him. Mm-hmm. No one's ever called on him. He refers people to refi. He doesn't know what to do. He calls me up.
Yeah. It takes time, and I think what happens is that originators will try something for 30 days And if it didn't work, if it didn't get them a deal, they're done. And you know, there are a lot of good ideas that take a lot of time to pursue and perfect. I'm working on a business development category right now that I've approached over time, that I wasn't immediately successful with, that I dropped off and didn't do, and now I'm back at it and trying to, you know, with an increased effort and increased energy, and I'm trying to make it work because it's viable.